Anytime your kids are watching television or videos or playing video games or computer games or just having time on the computer, would be considered screen time. The important thing to know is that all screen time is not the same. There's a lot of research which links television viewing and video viewing with lots of negative things. Attention problems like ADD, obesity. Violent television viewing is definitely linked to more aggressive behavior. It really is a good rule of thumb that, television takes up time that kids need to be doing something more productive. Television just doesn't really have a lot of benefits. Any screen time is too much for a kid under 2. They really need to have that time to be exploring their environment and interacting with their caregivers. And with other kids, we just have to be really conscious of the fact that television will tend to take the place of other activities that might be more beneficial. So if you feel like your kids might not be getting enough unstructured playtime, that's a time to start limiting television viewing. Or if they're not getting their homework done, or not spending enough time with you or their siblings, or just out playing with neighborhood kids, then that would be too much. Definitely research shows that if kids are watching educational shows that are meant for kids that are their age, that they will learn things like words and numbers. But the problem is that once kids age out of that, they're no longer learning anything. Well, a great thing to do is to definitely watch the educational television with your kids. The research does show that if parents try and reinforce what kids are learning from watching television or even from some of the educational computer games, that kids will actually learn a lot more, that it'll stick with them a lot longer.
He's live at Legacy Emmanuel Hospital.
If something is on that seems inappropriate, it happens to all of us, especially with we'll tend to have the news on in the background. Very often it is a conversation starter that we hadn't totally anticipated. So changing the channel is one thing, but then also finding out how your kids have interpreted what they have seen, and to make sure that they're not using their imaginations to fill in the blank in a way that is scary to them. For little kids, for grade school kids, even for teenagers, it's not a good idea to have a television in their own bedroom. In part because you can't control as much how much television they're watching and what television they're exposed to. Video games, on the other hand, depending on what type of games they are, can have some tremendous benefits for kids. For example, teenagers, particularly teenage boys who play sports video games, are actually tend to be more active. They play the sports on the video games and then they master them kind of out in the real world. It's interesting, as kids get older, video games and now the social web has really become a part of their social life. And so that's very different than sitting passively in front of a television. It really is a way for them to connect with their friends and establish relationships, and that in and of itself is very good. That's different. Although, I will say with video games, they definitely aren't all good. We know that about 20% of video games that kids play, they've been rated in such a way that they're too violent or too sexual for kids. We have a lot of really good studies which show a really strong link between kids who are playing those violent or very sexual video games and less helpful behavior. It triggers a part of their brain which drives aggressive behavior, and so they do tend to be a little bit more aggressive. Given that we live in this society which there is so much television and movies and all this media, it's not all bad, and it in fact can be a great thing for families to do together.